Michael Jordan was not the tallest player in the NBA. He was not the fastest. He was not the strongest. He was not the most naturally gifted athlete to ever step on a basketball court. For example, Scottie Pippen had a longer wingspan. Shaq was twice his size. I mean, look at him. Kobe spent more hours on technical skill than almost anyone who ever played the game. And Jordan was still, in my opinion, the greatest who ever did it, because of what was running inside his mind. Now, here's what that has to do with you. You don't need to be the most talented person in your space. You don't need to have the best offer, the biggest audience, or the most years of experience. There are people making 10 times what you make right now who are not smarter than you. They're not better than you. They're not working harder than you. What they have is a mind that is working for them instead of against them. See, your business can only grow as far as your mind will allow it to. And the good news is that the mind is not fixed. It can be trained. It can be reprogrammed. The same way Jordan trained his body and mind every single day. You can train your mind to operate at a completely different level. So in the next 24 minutes or so, I'm going to show you 5 moments from Michael Jordan's interviews and career that reveal exactly how his mind was programmed. I'm going to show you the mechanism behind each one, and I'm going to give you the exact internal practice that installs that same program in you. No basketball required, of course. Before we get into the clips, I need to tell you something important. Most people watch Michael Jordan's interview and walk away with one thought, and that is, I need to work harder. That is the wrong takeaway. Obviously, Jordan worked hard. Of course he did. But so did everyone else in the NBA. Every player at that level works hard. Hard work alone does not explain what Jordan did throughout his career, because there were players who worked just as hard as him and never came close to what he achieved. So what was actually different? What I want you to look for in every clip we are about to watch is not that Jordan is just showing you discipline. Instead, he is showing you an identity. And identity is not what you decide to do. It's what you believe about who you are at a level so deep you don't even need to think about it anymore. It just behaves automatically. It drives your decisions without you choosing it. It shows up before your brain has time to talk you out of it. That identity, the one Jordan had throughout his career, was not something he was born with. It was installed through experiences and pain, through the specific way he chose to respond to failure, pressure, and doubt. And let me be very clear here. You can install the same kind of identity. You don't have to wait for the right experiences to shape you by accident. You can program your mind on purpose. That's what every clip in this video is going to show you. The specific internal mechanism Jordan was running, and the exact practice that puts the same thing inside you. So let's get into it. The first clip I'm going to show is from Jordan's Hall of Fame speech in 2009. He's talking about the moment he was cut from his high school varsity basketball team as a sophomore. Now, most people hear that story and they think, great, he used it as motivation. He got angry and worked harder. But let us just take a listen to what he has to say. Now, listen to what he actually says. He doesn't just say he worked harder after this. He said he thought about it every single day, every single game for the rest of his career. He can still name the player Leroy Smith, as he says in the clip, he was cut for. He got the spot on the team instead. He still carries it. So trust me, that is not just motivation, but something much more powerful. When something painful happens at a moment of intense emotion, which he had at that point in his life, the brain does not just record the event. It creates what scientists call an emotional imprint into your body, into your nervous system, a deep file, one that the subconscious keeps and returns to again and again. Most people get an imprint like this, and the subconscious just files it as I'm not good enough. Jordan's subconscious filed it differently, as I will prove every single person who doubted me wrong. Same event, completely different file, completely different identity that came out of it. That file ran everything he did for 30 years. It didn't fade. It got stronger every time he used it and reinforced it. So you've probably had a moment like this too. A time when someone told you it wouldn't work, whether that be a teacher, a parent, a friend, whatever. A person who looked at what you were building and smiled like they didn't believe it. The question is not whether those moments happened, because they did. The question is what your subconscious filed them as. Because right now, somewhere in your subconscious, those moments are running. And if they got filed as I'm not good enough, or this doesn't work for someone like me, they are silently capping your results every single day without you knowing it. So here's how you change the file in the first place. First, close your eyes and think of a specific moment where doubt or rejection got installed. Got it? Good. Now, here's the key thing to understand. Your subconscious cannot tell the difference between a real memory and one you vividly imagine. That's a proven fact in neuroscience. The same parts of the brain activate, whether you do the real memory or the vivid imagined one, which means you can go back to that moment in your mind in a relaxed state and change what it means. Not what happened, but what the subconscious filed it as at the time. In a self hypnosis session, you return to that moment. You see it clearly. And instead of filing it as proof of a limitation, you file it as the moment that made you. Jordan did this naturally. You can do it deliberately too. That's the first mechanism. Let's go to the second clip. So, in multiple interviews across his career, Jordan talks about something he did before every single game. I couldn't find the actual footage, so we're just going to explore the footage of someone else talking about it. And Jordan would sit quietly and run the game in his mind before it actually happened. The specific details, the feel of the ball, the sound of the crowd, the exact moments he got in. So he describes having already made the shot before he stepped on the court. That game was almost secondary. He had already lived it. So let's go and hear. Now, the clip is not about him or from him. Well, it is about him, but from a fellow Nike athlete. And This has nothing to do with the superstition about him visualizing anything. This is as clear as neuroscience gets. Researchers have shown that when you vividly imagine doing something, your brain activates almost exactly the same way as when you actually do it. The motor cortex, the part of your brain that controls physical movement, fires the same signals. But let me tell you the part that matters most for you right now. The subconscious does not know the difference between something you imagined with real intensity and something that actually happened. So when Jordan stepped onto the court in a high pressure game, his subconscious was not encountering a new situation. It had already been there. It had already done this. It had filed that and said, I've made this shot before. This is familiar. This is who I am. The pressure couldn't touch him in the same way it touched everyone else, because to him, at the subconscious level, the success was already real. Think about the last time you had a sales call with a prospect, for example, or the last time you needed to close a deal that really mattered in your business, or the last time you had to show up and put yourself out there in a way that felt uncomfortable. How did you walk into that moment? Most entrepreneurs walk in cold, no preparation at the subconscious level, which means the subconscious shows up with only what it has on file from the last time something similar happened. And if the last time was uncomfortable or it didn't go well, that's the reference point it uses. Jordan never went in cold to anything, ever. So before your next important business moment, a sales call, a tough conversation with a client, a piece of content that requires you to show your expertise, do this. Get somewhere quiet, close your eyes again, take a few slow breaths, then run the scenario in your mind in full detail. See it clearly, hear what you would hear, feel what it feels like to have it go well. Don't hope it goes well. Feel the version where it already did. In a self-hypnosis session, you can go deeper into this state and make the experience even more real for the subconscious. The deeper state, the more strongly the subconscious accepts what you've just imagined as a real reference. Do this enough times and you stop walking into important moments cold. You walk in with a history of success already installed. That's the second mechanism. So in the third clip, this is from in The Last Dance, where the documentary about Jordan says something that a lot of people find uncomfortable. He talks about pushing his teammates hard, being demanding, sometimes being brutal. He doesn't apologize for it. Jordan was refusing to let the environment around him lower the standards his identity required him to have. So let's just watch the clip because it's very, very important. Winning has a price and leadership has a price. What a quote. There's something most people don't know about how the subconscious works. Your environment is constantly sending subconscious information about who you are and what the standard is. The beliefs of the people around you, the quality of work you accept back, the conversations you allow to go on too long, all of it. If the environment runs at a lower standard than your identity requires, the subconscious will eventually start to adjust downward towards the average without you consciously noticing. Jordan understood this without needing to read a neuroscience paper. He knew that if he let the standard in his environment drop, his own internal standard would follow. So he refused to let it drop. His identity set the standard. The environment had to meet it, and not the other way around. Right now, your environment is setting things for you in your business and in your personal life. The quality of work your team sends back that you accept without any comment. The client who talks to you in a way you don't actually like, but you let it go. The week where you didn't protect your deep work time because too many things came up. Every time you accept a lower standard than the version of yourself you're building toward would accept, your subconscious files it and it adjusts internal standard downward. You don't notice it happening, but it happens. So, what you can do here is a morning identity priming. So, every morning before you open Slack, before you check email, before the environment gets a single word in, do this. Ask yourself one question and write the answer down. What standard is the version of me I'm building toward running today? Specifically in terms of decisions made, work accepted or sent back, time protected, conversations ended. Then spend 5 minutes in a brief self hypnosis induction, anchoring that standard as your identity for the day. You're not waiting to feel ready to hold that standard. You're deciding that it is who you are before the day starts. And you're letting the environment adjust to you, and again, not the other way around. That's what Jordan did every single day, and what you can hear in the clip that we just played. That's the third mechanism. Let's go to the fourth clip. So, the fourth clip is about Michael Jordan's famous flu game. It was the 1997 NBA Finals, Game 5. Jordan is so ill the night before that his teammates says he can barely move. He's on the floor on the locker room during warm-ups. He plays 45 minutes, scores 38 points, and the Bulls win. And what I'm going to show you is the post-game interview. That mindset is just extraordinary. So, obviously, Jordan talks about what happened inside his mind during the game. He says there were moments where he didn't know if his body could keep going, and you see it in the clip. And then he says something simple. He decided it didn't matter because his team needed someone to show up, and that was him. So, most people hear all of this and think that's just toughness. It is not just toughness, it is something much more detailed than that. Jordan's identity was so deeply installed, if I can actually speak, that his body's signal could not override it. He acknowledged them. He knew he felt terrible, but his self-concept, the file his subconscious had been running for years prior to that, said, I show up and I deliver. That is who I am, and that file was stronger than the signal coming from his body. When identity is installed deeply enough, it does not bend to external pressure. It does not bend to a bad day, a bad month, or a bad feeling. The identity stays together, and the behavior follows the identity. And most certainly, you have had bad weeks. Everyone has that. Everyone sees that in your business, in their business. A slow month, a client who leaves, a launch that doesn't go as you expected, a week where nothing seems to work, and the doubt starts to get loud. When that happens, what does your subconscious do with it? Most operators let a bad week update their identity. The revenue dips, and suddenly the subconscious starts asking, maybe this is who I actually am. Maybe I've been getting lucky. Maybe this is my real level. Jordan's subconscious never asked those questions because his identity was installed too deeply to be moved by a single event, whether that be a missed shot, a lost game, or whatever. So a bad game was just data to him. It was not a statement about who he was. When something goes wrong in your business, and it will, here's what to do instead of letting it update your identity. Stop in that moment something goes wrong. Breathe and separate the event from the identity out loud. Say to yourself, this happened, but this is not who I am. Then, in a short self hypnosis session, re anchor your identity, process what happened, and then return to the identity that exists independent of what happened. You do this enough times, and a bad month stops being an identity event. It becomes data. You look at it, learn from it, and keep moving because your self concept was not shaken by it. That is what Jordan had. That is what you can build as well. So, that is the fourth mechanism. One more clip. So, here in this clip, we hear about his Nike commercial from 1997. That is maybe the most honest thing Jordan ever said publicly. And you've most likely heard the quote before. It's very, very known, but let's just see the clip. Look, there are so many people that think that commercial is about resilience. Keep going even when you fail. It's about something much more specific than that. Jordan's subconscious did not compound failure in any way. Most people's subconscious files every miss as more evidence for a negative identity story. Miss number one goes in the file, miss number two adds to it. Over time, the subconscious has built a case, and that case creates a ceiling. Jordan treated every miss as separate and isolated. He learned what there was to learn, and then the file closed. It did not get added to the identity story. His self concept stayed clean. Every game he stepped onto the court with the same identity file he had the game before, untouched by the misses that game had and that came between. Your bad months are probably compounding, not just financially, but at the identity level. Each slow month, each client who didn't renew, but if your subconscious is filing those as evidence, then you are building a case against yourself without knowing it. And that case is sitting as the quiet remote controlling everything you do, making the ceiling feel more real, making the next move feel even more risky, making the good months feel fragile. This is one of the most common things I see in the operators I work with. The strategy is completely fine, the results are fine, but the subconscious is running a case file of every failure and using it to moderate the growth. So, what I want you to go through next, this is a two-part practice. First, write down the 3 to 5 results from the last year that your subconscious has been using as evidence against you. Be specific, not I had some bad months. Which months? What happened? Then write next to each one of those months what identity statement it has been reinforcing. That can be, I can't hold this level, my offer isn't good enough, people like me don't get there or don't get anywhere or has this certain ceiling. Whatever the statement is, just write it down. Second half of this process, in a self-hypnosis session, go back to each event and change the file. Don't change what happened, change what it means about you. Your subconscious stores meaning, not events. Change the meaning and you change what the file does to your identity over time. That is the fifth mechanism. Now let me pull all of this together. So we have all of the 5 clips, 5 mechanisms, one idea behind all of them. Jordan did not have better talent than everyone else. He had a subconscious that was programmed partly by deliberate experience, partly by just knowing that every time something that he didn't use or want to use was just strictly against him. He treated elite performance as an identity rather than effort. Other players worked hard. Jordan's hard work landed on a different identity. So it compounded differently, obviously. Every hour of practice, every game, every failure, it all went into a subconscious file that said, this is who I am. This is my level. And anything else is not acceptable to me. And because the identity was that strong, the behavior followed automatically. He did not have to push himself every day. Instead, the identity pulled him. That is what these 5 practices build for you in your business. Rewriting the old imprints that are capping your results. Pre-installing success before the high pressure moments arrives. Setting your standard before the environment sets it for you. Staying anchored to your identity when things go wrong. Keeping the failure file clean so it stops building a case against you. None of these are about working harder. They're about making sure that the mind running your business is the right one. A mind that is working for you and not one that is quietly working against you. Because when the mind is right, the strategy works. The team executes, the right decisions get made, the revenue compounds. The mind is always first. Everything I've walked you through in this video, the reprogramming of the imprint, the pre-performance visualization, the identity priming, the anchoring under pressure, the failure reframing. This is the work I do with online entrepreneurs every single day, one-on-one, going directly into the subconscious mechanisms that are capping your results and changing them at the right level, at the root level. Dominic went through this work and doubled his income in 8 weeks. Carlo did 11K in 5 days and had the best week in his business. Jordan scaled his sales agency from 37K a month to 66K a month. James grew his monthly recurring revenue by 30% in just 8 weeks. None of them needed a new strategy. They needed the right mind running the strategy they already had. If you want to know more about working with me one-on-one, send me a message on Instagram with the word Jordan, and I'll send you more information. You can also see every one of the case studies that I just mentioned on my YouTube, and you can also see them on my Instagram. The link to my Instagram is below. If you want to hear more about one-on-one work, send me the word Jordan in a personal message on Instagram. And if this video showed you something that most mindset content never gets close to, drop a comment below and tell me which clip hit the hardest for you. I'll see you in the next one.